The weekend is usually seen as a time to relax or a time to do what you want to do throughout the week, including or a time to catch up on media sleep or a time to visit friends and family. Better days are coming. Remember, days are called Saturdays. Good morning and welcome to another edition. Yes, indeed, it's on the weekend. About the weekend, it's good to be back on this edition of Good Morning Liberia. Let's have ourselves a great time on a beautiful Friday morning. Yes, it is also being back on this radio. Too many things to talk about. This is Liberia, and we all must work in making sure that Liberia gets better. Too many things to talk about. Good morning, folks, and welcome to Good Morning Liberia on the Voice of Liberia 104.1 FM. My name is April Parker. Harris with is here, and this I would like to welcome you to the weekend edition of Good Morning Liberia. Slipping over to my man Harris. Good morning, Harris. How are you?
Good morning, Parker, and good morning to the folks listening. I'm doing great, and yeah, I'm doing pretty well.
Okay, so what have you planned for the weekend? I know you're someone who love to chill on the weekend.
Well, yeah, but cheating is in different forms. I, but the problem about us in Liberia is actually some things to understand different. However, the case may
No,
be,
but then you make them to understand that the way you
however
think that it
the
should
case may
be.
be for me, man, that cheating is well on a Saturday at church. I have to do some cleaning out of church. I spend some time. I on a Sunday, still in the presence of God. Where you find pleasure, I just honestly truly is about anything you find pleasure to do. And so like Saturday, yeah, fast, sometimes I help do some work. On a Sunday, I'm there during the morning hours, and after work, yeah, it becomes great. So that's how I do my work. However, I relatively to how am I going to spend my weekend, especially this weekend. After that, I could go as normal, where on a Saturday sometimes stay home, do some domestic work, then cut up as part of our regular activities here at Port of Nigeria. On a Saturday, we take a microphone to the people. On a Saturday, we engage the counties. We speak with God dwellers. They tell us exactly what their own impression of the country, I mean, the way the country is going. Right? And so on the Saturday, I am told by management, hey, we're going out. So, uh, which
How does that in
means,
any way
which
take
means
away
that
your normal
uh,
activity? Something you
which
love?
means
Because
that
I know you
I'm coming
to
now,
be a
right? I'm coming,
guy.
which means that on
What you want
Saturday
to
I'm gonna spend my
justify?
entire Saturday outside of Monrovia, right? And I'll be in the county based on official duty. So I don't know how we have your official duty and duty.
It doesn't take away
Uh,
anything.
I,
It doesn't in
I
any
still
way
not,
take away.
I still not understand. I didn't
What
understand.
you want?
So today Friday, I spend my entire time watching, afterwards, I'm usually what we're supposed to do.
Boy,
Take that
but
food,
yes,
tomorrow,
you
Sunday, and
also.
Sunday we'll get ready to prepare for Monday,
Why you
Tuesday.
get
So,
talking fast?
no, I'm telling you that this week is so tough for me that there's nothing in my plan, on my agenda for actually.
So how do you understand children? That's a question. You keep beating around the bush.
I just,
I
I,
asked you a simple question. You said sometimes the way people see the word children in Liberia is quite different. And then I wanted to provide you the opportunity to tell the people sometimes you can just be sitting and chilling. It doesn't mean anyway.
that's what I said,
So
right?
it doesn't
I,
mean you have to move to club. Okay, how is when the last time you went clubbing or on the beach or to the pool as a young man? I know
I,
you, your activities.
I
I
mean,
know you.
no half these for those that do pool business, right? I mean, I
Harris,
have
don't
that.
present
I'm
yourself to
coming.
me.
If you ask me a question, don't want
No,
me to
but
answer for.
the answer I expect.
I'm not answering for you, right? I'm answering for the
No,
sake.
but then I'm
I'm
asking
answering for
you.
the sake of Liberians out there, those that know me, right? And those
But
that
I know
don't
you
know me,
too.
those that I'm saying those that don't know me, but
Huh?
wanting to know me, right? So this is the case. I for
You think
beach,
okay for
I'm
where
examining for beach. I'm always on the beach, right? I visit beach normally. The reason is very simple. Is one of the places I find perfect for me to reflect. It's one of the places I go to train my voice, right? You know the way we do the way we talk outside for some of you, if we boy, what I want to tell you, you ask me whether you can get the radio the voice up, right? So what happens is that you use the data terms, you air.
Nigga,
I
me be
mean,
music for
the
dollar,
industrial.
bro.
No, but that's exactly why I go on the beach. Aside from that, any other social
uh,
things, you know, I'm saying, most
so
often
so sure that you are that.
I'm yeah, yeah, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining, but I'm that guy that's very tolerant, right? It embraces everyone. If you're that social thing, I embrace you. If you're that political type,
But
I
that's a
embrace you.
different
I
thing.
mean,
It
yeah,
was
that's
nice
what's up.
to have
No,
you
but definitely
on
that's why.
that aspect of the conversation. Well, it's great to be here, folks. It's great to be here, folks, and it's on the beautiful Friday morning. Too many things to talk about. We gave you the rundown of activities this morning. We'll go over to Harris. We'll have a housekeeping. It will run up to 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, Harris. What do we do at 8 going up to
Yeah,
10?
so like you said, we have a very huge menu this morning. At 8 o'clock, we are anticipating Honorable Sunda GP Wilson. She wants to represent the people of Lima District Number 2. And she is also the chief executive officer of an organization called SEJ. This is a group that uh, providing some sort of assistance to underprivileged children in Liberia. And they have been in the business for some couple of years now. I want to talk to her at 8 o'clock. It runs up to 9 o'clock. Lawrence Yedu will join us. Lawrence Yedu is the country director for accountability in Liberia. The group will be here this morning. I'll be talking on some government related issues, transparency, government accountability, corruption, and a whole lot. So Lauren, you will be on our platform at 9, and we also 10 o'clock, definitely go for the weekend.
Okay, it's great to be here. Too many things to talk about. How I wish we had the time. There was this open letter from U.S. Ambassador to Liberia, Yemen Rubia, an open letter from the U.S. Ambassador to Liberia, Maka A. McCarty, which we just had the time. We could analyze what the ambassador said. But those of you who remember some 9 months ago, the U.S. ambassador asked a question, and many people turned that particular question at the time as something that was provocative, and many Liberians felt that it was not just necessary. And he himself believed or accepted the fact that the question was provocative, and that's why he opened or he used that particular word in his opening statement of the open communication, or if you like, a letter to the Liberian government and its citizens as well. So the statement was released yesterday. At a certain point in time, it speaks to the fact that yes, in Liberia, it is just us as citizens of this country, where people have to say some things before we can be moved. Like somebody will come and say, your country, the city is dirty, it's filthy, right? And that's when you see people taking the necessary steps. So most of the times we allow for people to say things on the negative stand before we can take action in Liberia. We feel that is wrong. It is always good to take responsibility. There are things that we need to do in this country. We are not doing it. We are not even close to doing it. But basically, all of the statements from the U.S. government, uh, they all have to do with
Mm,
corruption,
yeah,
corruption, corruption. How can we tackle corruption? We talk about the global Magnitsky Act, that they are officials of government today, they are being affected. Just in, you saw
Mm.
about three top government officials were sanctioned by the U.S. government because of their alleged involvement in corruption. You thought you'd be listening government listed act punished Prince Johnson. You remember, at the Liberian Senate, you were elected as chair on security. But then the international community, most especially the U.S. government, the U.S. partners said they couldn't work with such a man, knowing fully well that he has such a tainted career. You talk about Vani Sherman on the Grand Kitman. But again, Liberia as a country, we look, let's get this right. It is constitutional that these people, whenever uh, they have that right, they have that constitutional right to participate in elections. And one of the ways that you prevent them whenever they shouldn't participate into an electoral process in Nigeria is when they should have been investigated in the court, and then the court render decision that hey, this person is not eligible to um, participate into any electoral process in Liberia, like that will go for it. So, but again, we as citizens of this country will need to step out. It is always important
Mhm.
that though the people will not come and say, hey, don't vote this person, don't elect this person. You have your constitutional responsibility. On yesterday, I really tried going through this conversation, but we will not go into it now. We hope we can do that on Monday, because we need to take our own time and analyze the statement made by them. Yesterday evening they came out. So we decided not to talk about it on today. But there are other issues we'll be looking at because there is no time. And if we say we want to go into this
Mhm.
conversation,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have the time to talk more about it. And 8 o'clock, our guest will be up. We have just 5 minutes to 8. So 8 o'clock, our guest will be here. So we wouldn't have the time. There's a long communication. He said a lot. He talked about the provocative statement he offered or he uttered 9 months ago, where the question was, what would Joseph Deacon Roberts, have to say about Liberia today? And he believed that particular statement, right, helped to spark a conversation about where this country, as we call Liberia, finds itself after 175 years of independence and 200 years since the arrival of the American settlers, right? So this particular statement is in reference. Today is the 9th of December, right? And today is International Anti-Corruption Day.
Yeah.
The people who fight corruption, anti-graft institutions in Liberia that are that considered themselves to be more robust in the fight against corruption. I'm told that today will be a pioneer discussion organized by the Liberia Council of Churches, and they have designated speakers to speak, people who have integrity to speak, and there are other people who don't even have integrity on that particular list. I'm not too particular about that, but I wish we have the time to do it to it. So today is the 9th of December, and it's celebrated as, or it's been observed as International Anti-Corruption Day. So Liberia is a lower section, observing this particular day. So
Yeah.
this particular statement is in reference to the celebration of the International Anti-Corruption Day. So he was just making reference to the statement he made some 9 months ago and said, what would Mr. Drivers think or make of Liberia after 175 years, 200 years of a celebration of the return of the free food for Liberia? Mind you, the bicentennial, we will be marking the bicentennial celebration of the bicentennial of the 200 years of the arrival of the free slaves in Liberia. It started on the 14th of February, right? 14 February 2022, we started the celebration of the 200 years of the return of the free slaves. So I'm told either this week, either this week, either tomorrow or something, either this week or next week, we'll be clamassing the celebration of
Yeah, the Basington.
the Basi 10.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
Mm.
trying to get. Go ahead. I'm trying to
Yeah,
get this stuff on the Liberal Council of Churches relative to the Anti-Corruption Day, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, but I
So
was,
there were a lot that were said into this statement, but I could just read you right, and we could
you just
find
read
out.
a
Yeah, yeah,
few
because
lines from it.
we don't go same. 9 months ago, I asked the purpose that okay, I asked a provocative question that will what would JJ Roberts have to say about Liberia today, which helped to spark a conversation about where this country finds itself 175 years after independence and 200 years since the arrival of American settlers. Now on December 9th, International Anti-Corruption Day, and at the close of the past 10-year year, I believe it may be helpful for Liberians to take another honest look in the mirror. Even though we are announcing no new U.S. sanctions here today, I want to assure the Liberian people that our anti-corruption efforts remain robust and continuous as the government leads key sanctions of three Liberian officials in August demonstrated. The U.S. government can and will employ sanctions as needed on an ongoing basis in support of our shared development, democracy, and security goals guided by the U.S. strategy on that's continuing counting corruption. The all important goal of transparent, free, credible, and peaceful elections in October will be one important factor in decisions about additional sanctions in the months leading up to the vote. This is where we are. After the guys, after the U.S. government
Mm,
sanctioned about three top government officials, we talk about they Solicitor General Adarius Solicitor General Serena Cephas, who was sanctioned, later resigned, and he has been replaced, as a matter of fact, have sanctioned if what is that? Nathaniel Mangel from the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs. He had the National Food Authority uh, Managing Director Bill Huawei. And now this is what the people said. Let's go back to this statement. It said, mm, is the all important goal of transparent, free, credible, and peaceful elections in October will be one important factor in decisions about additional sanctions in the months leading up to the vote. So the people say they one is very clear. There are other issues, issues of credibility, issue transparent and free, peaceful elections will be one of the factors. So now the U.S. government seeing herself as a factor to Liberia, and this ambassador doesn't renege or doesn't just use his words, some of the things he say. On Liberia, the mayor is just like a I don't know how to describe it, right? He's just somebody that anytime he wants to say something, he will say it. Anytime he wants to say something, and then the government will back down. That's how our U.S. Ambassador McCarthy looks like. So even the man say Liberian government must do this one today, it will happen.
yeah,
It will happen. Because the thing
that's
is,
that's that's Michael, that's you see the reason why these things happen is because when you build a dependency syndrome, right? These are some of the disadvantages. You depend wholeheartedly on a person to the extent that you cannot do anything, you cannot see anything right. You cannot take any decision unless you hear from that person. It places you in a position that anything the person says is bad. So if Liberia, the decision makers in this country were robust, I mean, they're efficient, they're effective, right? Some of these things for the people saying, "Well, come and say, no, this is the way to do it." It doesn't mean that because this person is the ambassador of the United States means that everything is right. doesn't mean at times empathy we put to in Liberia means exactly the way it is. But the problem is when the people those are in the positions moving exactly to what the ambassador thinking, right? Their actions are demonstrated in the ambassador's speech. What becomes of it? Anything the people say, they're going to bow down to it. But if you have a body that is independent, a body that is robust, and a body that is able to cater to the needs and wants of the Liberian people, so these things are not these things. Obviously, and that's why this is exactly the point behind this. And that's why we continue to do it. Because even the governing cycle of our country, the guys that they are so corrupt to the extent. So once a year, imagine when the US embassy announced that they were going to do a press conference. Almost all of the government officials were glued to that radio and it was like, the rules are being clear for something, right? Mine was another bill substantial can be announced. Because the guys are not even trusting themselves. Because the first thing is you cannot trust yourself before someone trusts you. So the guys are not even trusting themselves. So once they hear about the US government, all of their favor, they are so afraid that all of their things will be exposed. All of what they are into will be brought to book. And this is where they are. So, so we're going to receive a lot of those statements. I mean, it's not we will become only the US.
It is it's quite interesting. I never really wanted to go into it, yeah, because I think our guest
Yes,
will
I don't
soon
so be.
soon be around. But this
I'm
is
in
the thing.
communication.
This is the thing. The man made Liberians or made the world to understand that the sanction topic is hot in Liberia. He says some Liberians have urged the United States to implement more sanctions and even proposed names. Others have objected that the sanctions process lacks due process. He said, let me be clear. The Global Magnitsky Act is a tool the United States uses to protect itself from particularly corrupt actors and not a punishment against a country or government. So this is clear, right? It is intended to protect the U.S. government against people who are perceived to be corrupt. But this is what I got to understand, and this is where the government needs to step in. You know, one of the reasons why we're saying this is because sometimes if someone says you're corrupt, like yesterday, Momo Cyrus was here, and then we asked him a question linking the UN human rights working group
Yeah.
where they talk about
Mhm.
sexual abuse in his
Mhm.
institution. He said he did his own internal investigation, but no one was heard credible, right? And just like that. But what happened is that the people watch from a distance, right? The people watch from a distance, and because of the watching some of the information they get from outside of Liberia or from within Liberia, they decided to come up with a report. But now he's asking the UN working group to provide maybe clue to that particular investigation that they can do further investigation
Yeah.
into the matter. But this is the thing, right? He said, let me be clear. The Global Magnitsky Act is a tool that the United States uses to protect itself from particularly corrupt actors, not a punishment against a country or government. It is also in no way a substitute for a domestic judicial process in the host country, including prosecution, right? Due process for an accused today in court will only happen under the Liberian law, the Liberian code. So this is where we're at. This thing is an open process. If the US government said Mr. Mangil is being sanctioned because of his alleged involvement into corruption, it is the government's responsibility, federal Liberia. This is what we have understood from this entire thing. It is the government responsibility to initiate a legal proceeding against Mange, Biotwawe, the Solicitor General, the former Solicitor General, Serena Sosifos. But unlike it is a different case, right? Where the sanction was issued, and at the end result, the government decided to accept the sanction, and later there was some statements that came out of that The president shouldn't be associated or shouldn't associate with those who have been sanctioned. But then he made us to understand that this particular sanction, whenever it's been placed on an individual, is intended to protect his government against people who are perceived to be corrupt, but not against the government
the government back home.
or the country. So how does it affect the government when people who are in government have been sanctioned, and at the end result, you the same person telling the government or the president not to associate himself with those people in tackle the issue. So it becomes uh, a process to debate because you're telling us that this process it is not for the government. It is in no way against the government. But these people who are being sanctioned are employees of the government, right? Are working for the government and they are working for the country. So how does it in any way connect the country to the government and that of the individual are involved? How does it in any way connect that? And this is where we are. He went down and saying, whenever a sanction is being imposed on an individual, meaning if they have already done their in-house investigation, and then they believe that this person is corrupt. So, but what comes to mind, Harris, when he made us to understand as well in this right out, is that there are people, Liberian citizens, right, who suggested that there should be more sanctions, who suggested names as well, people who they perceive to be corrupt. Is it based on personal hate that people will come out and say this person is corrupt, that the US government will just come out one morning and say tension has been placed on this individual, and then the individual resigns from government, the government doesn't take the step to follow investigating to that matter? Yeah. So is it based on personal hate that someone will come out one morning and say, hey, this person is corrupt, and then we decided to
And,
maybe the US government just will
and,
say, yeah, that's this way.
so far for you ask a very sound question. So this is so I'm saying this also has been a point, right? Because the thing is, if the president is where the ambassador is telling us that people are suggesting names, right?
Mhm.
At first, I felt that this person was solely independent in his responsibility of the US government as a whole,
Mhm.
right? And not third party involved. But when if you have people suggesting names, there are possibilities that the person will craft their own evidence towards the person, right? And tend to present it as something that you can take decisions. So I was thinking because at first remember after when the two government officials were sanctioned, I can listen to the ambassador calling the Liberian government of other actions, right? It reminded the government that those individuals I mean, it's not right for you to do business with them because they are corrupt and they lack integrity to being government. How is it now at this point, the ambassador is telling us as well that the decision is putting them to distance the U.S. government from those who are be corrupt. And it is the sole responsibility of that country, and in no way the sanction affect the country. So, I mean, the point there, the contradictions I perceive, and I think that that session is a way of helping government to see those are the folks that follow money progress. Those are the folks that follow money develop this country. Those are the folks that extract the resources that should be going to Liberians to benefit the lives of Liberians. Those are the folks stealing away the resources. So they are the ones that are being profitable. And obviously, you will agree with me when a criminal is being caught in the process, obviously you must pay penalty.
Mhm.
So I think that it's recommended to Liberian government who that those individuals are corrupt. There is a need that don't do business with them. And for action should be taken against them. Why? So that you are not the one be executing the action, but you can recommend as a potential solution, right? These are the folks in your system. They are the ones causing the capital Liberian people. They are the ones why they are the cause that the children have not access to quality and education. They are the ones because of the way women and girls continue to suffer during the time of that period, right? The time of delivery, the lack of quality, must be a lot of. And
Let's go down into this particular something that I talked about. But I think we'll conclude at certain point with the recommendation, and I think it is good for us as a country, and the government needs to take the necessary step into this one. Okay, the guess is here. Yeah. So this is the part. They say in Liberian code, say Liberians generally agree with our analysis that corruption is the primary cause of Liberia's failure. Okay. Most in the international community share most in the international community share that assessment. That is why our Department of the Treasury took the extraordinary step. Let's get it right. Let's go with the extraordinary step of sanctioning five senior Liberian officials in only 3 years under the global Magnitsky Act. This set of sanctions has led to some positive results, including the resignation of the three most recently sanctioned officials. In the global Magnitsky Act announcement, Liberians have brought unusually the sharp language from the government of the United States regarding the corruption of these individuals. Where am I? Hey.
things that
These individuals, in some cases, Liberians have also heard responses from the sanctioned officials themselves. This is where we are. He said in 2023, with the upcoming elections, however, it will be the trend of the people of Liberia to let their voices to be heard on this topic, especially since several of those sanctioned officials may be running for office. It is Liberians and not the U.S. government that are responsible for ensuring good governance in Liberia. Sanctions can help, but the ballot box is a far more important tool to holding public officials accountable. But this is the thing. Before we can get to our guests, 14 minutes. This is the thing. I think the recommendation from the people is clear, right? Now, people shouldn't be a country that the U.S. government will come out one day and say this official is corrupt. And looking at the role the president plays in society, into the governance space of our country, and then saying that this person is corrupt, and then one morning the president those steps is that the resignation letter from this president, the person goes to impunity. The people made us to understand that in order to get due process or to exonerate yourself, the government is rested on the shoulders of the government to initiate the necessary investigation. The people, I want to believe the people will come out with a report, right? That will say, okay, this is what we say the person is corrupt. And then it left with the government. The people are not going to do investigation to prosecute that person. So one of the ways, if we Nigerians are serious to petition the government, that those who are perceived to be corrupt, now they are being alleged. But they are alleged again, they're suffering for it. The people, they are other government. The three officials resigned. So what runs the mind when these two officials resign without any due process, without any thorough investigation? So I think we want to challenge the government this morning to take the necessary steps. It's important that we do. It's a good morning, Liberia. Before we go to our guest folks, let's announce to you that the Liberia National Police have forwarded to court full pressing link to the Monday's action at most of Liberia. And these people were being jailed yesterday. I think that was on yesterday. They were sent to the court. They were at the court, and then I'm told they've been jailed. And those who really caused the disturbance this one time, they are undergoing serious investigation. Currently, as we speak, they have been jailed by the Liberia National Police, or they were sent to court, and the court took the action. So the hearing will continue into that particular thing. I think the names are Heron Jala, Francis Mao, and two others. Yeah, so they are actually facing that time in court, and it's a warning to all of us as young people. Yeah. But we got to go over now to our guest. Remember, Telestar Liberia is a best network provider, like say internet service provider in Liberia. Don't make mistake to go to other network, go to Telestar on Tail Street and have a Harry's our guest is here. we can
Yeah,
start the
yeah, I'm sure
conversation.
about I think we have to go through those things already. Aspect we have looked at more into. I think our guys will go home. Everything said. On behalf of those, I let me get this straight. All right. So on behalf of those, Madam Sundan Chipekosi, she comes from the she wants to represent people district number two in the County. Good morning.
Good morning, Harris, and good morning, our people in Radio Land. It's good to be in your beautiful studio this morning to talk to our people in Liberia, in Limba, and across the world.
I believe
Thank you
this
so
is
much
your
for the invite.
I believe this is your first time.
Oh, sure, my first time in your studio.
Tell me what you hope to achieve with
Well, it's good to share our experience, to listen to other people's perception about us, and to interact with the general public. So it's so good to be here.
Thank you. We're going to begin now as for the sake of our audience and those joining the class. In a minute or two, can you tell us who is Madam Sunda?
Okay, Sonda Gipie Wilson. Yes, Sonda Gipie Wilson is a daughter of Sunny College City in Lima County. I was born in Sunny College. I grew up there. I'm an attorney in law. I'm a social worker before going to the legal profession. I also graduated from the Foreign Service Institute. I have achieved some certificates in other courses in Liberia and around the world. I am the executive director of the Special Emergency Activity to Restore Children's Hope Search, an organization that I founded some 23 years ago in Sunny College. The interesting bit is that it was 10 years after I graduated from high school. I didn't have the opportunity to come to Monrovia. At that time, we did not have the community colleges around the country. So I had to stay 10 years in Sunny College. And during the 10 years, I went to an agriculture school. I wanted to pursue a career in agriculture then. While I was waiting, I decided to contribute to children affected by the Liberian Civil War. So we had so many children who got separated as a result of the Civil War, and they were all in Sanicole, no assistance. So as a young girl at the time, a couple of my friends and I, we organized a special emergency activity to restore children's hope from a community-based organization, and this organization has grown up to the national level. Yeah, so this is Sonda, and currently I'm aspiring to represent the people of District Number 2 in Lima County. So this is Sonda. I'm a mother. I have 4 children. I'm a proud mother as well. So it's good to be here.
What gets you going? Looking at your contribution, providing relief to Liberian children, starting from NIM, now, like you said, up to the national level. What inspires
What inspires me most is that what we can do to change Liberia. There is a possibility, there is hope. Since we can do that, since we have started that in the past, we can do that in the future. Everything is not lost. There are people who have got the potential in Liberia, and the young people that we work with, the girls, the boys, the women, we see that there is a need for change and there is a hope. And the ability to take on, to change, to contribute to the society. That inspires me most.
Let's look at the picture 23 years ago of what it is now and going forward, looking at the way in which the country looks and seeing you as an individual contributing to a particular sector in making Liberia.
Okay, 23 years ago, it was hopeless. You had children who got separated as a result of the civil crisis. Some of their stories bring you tears because some people who rescued those children rescued them while some of them were suckling their mother's breasts. They were still suckling. Uh, you had children who lost all of their parents and they were taken in by total strangers. Some of those children remain in perpetual separation, but some of them were reunified by us and by other institutions. Uh, People were running into scattered because the guns were being fired across indiscriminatorily. So it was totally hopeless. And then peace came. And then children who were associated with fighting forces had to go through the process of the DDR, that is disarmament, demobilization, reintegration, resettlement. Okay. And then peace returned. And then schools reopened. Schools were no longer used as pastor, and they were no longer the hospitals, they were the services resumed. And life began, and things began to move ahead. There was hope and everything. Now we're in a situation that is quite uh, a little bit discouraging because most of the institutions we have, the system we have in place, most of those systems are broken down. So if you see the number of children now on the streets, the street peddling, and, it hurts you to see some of those progress are being made and have not been sustained. If you look at the issue of rape first, yeah, okay, it's on the increase every day. Violence against women and girls and on the increase. If you look at our integrity institutions, for example, they are not receiving the kind of support that they should receive to be able to fight, for example, corruption. And we know that corruption kills more than civil war, according to what people say. So if you look at also education, how strong is our education system, for example? So you see, there's all a myriad of issues that we have to address. So this is going back into the guns are no longer firing, but the system that we should be working through and not sustainable and it has to be strengthened so that education, health services, and all of those basic services are supported and people can get the best out of those systems.
Certainly. It's good to be. There's this thing we want to talk about. Now, that's that's one of the reasons why you have come. Now you have developed interest in representing the people of Nimba. Before I can go to the question that I want to ask, what are you so passionate about when it comes to Nimba?
You will. I'm so passionate about Nimba. I'm proud to be a Nimbayan in the first place. I'm a total Nimbayan. My mother and father,
Mm.
I both Nimbayans. So I am so when it comes to Nimba, Nimba is at my heart. However, Nimba has got great potential. Okay, if you look at the resources, both material, natural resources, and human resources, Nimba has that. In our ability to work hard, we are people who work hard, independent. We have independent minds. So we can take something and make something out of it. So if you went to Nimba, you see the level of development in Nimba is quite different as compared to other counties in Liberia, even though we not get the dividend of the resources, our contribution to the resources of the Republic of Liberia. Because if you look at ArcelorMittal, for example,
Mm.
which contributes, I think, the biggest portion of
Yeah.
to the government of Liberia,
Mm.
the mines are in Nimba. You have Monimba, you have Togadi, you have Grangra, and other mountains. So um, the contribution we make. But then how can we show to our generations to come that we have all of those resources? Because the resources are being exploited. And then they will not be replenished. They cannot come back. They're not the trees that you can replant. For example, you taking out minerals and you leave holes. So what do we show to our children in the future? Yeah. So I'm passionate about Nimba because the potential is there and we should be able to get those potentials developed, those talent developed, those skills. We have to enhance those skills so that we can show to the world Liberians, Africans can do something for themselves. Just as those days, let's say Yekepa. They used to call Yekepa uh, New York in Africa.
Mm.
So Liberia could be compared to a developed world based on all of the resources we have. We can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to move on
So,
now. New Year. I like the name Sunda.
Sonda, Sonda.
Sunda. What does that mean?
It means show your ways.
That's about
What?
Show your
show your
ways.
Show
that's
your
about
way.
GPA, GPA, yes,
GPA.
GPA, GPA. G is a small string, and it's a little bit of history
Okay.
where my forefathers settled. They settled along the stream,
Okay.
and the stream is called G, and PA is along the stream, meaning along the stream, PA.
So showing the way.
Exactly.
I
That's it.
like the connection.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
concerned quickly back up before we
Mhm.
move. There's this question that perhaps I love us to touch on. Currently, as we speak, there are several factors affecting youth development. We look at use of drugs. We look at children sitting on the street. We look at different factors in which the lives of children are being threatened by these forces, by these forces. What is the for the development of children in terms of their upbringing currently as we speak?
There are so many factors affecting the Liberian children. In every society, family is the first and foremost uh, contributor to the development of children. If you study psychology and sociology, family is essential. And what we see is that the our family structure in Nigeria is actually broken down to some extent. Those who are blessed to have the mothers and fathers within, providing them their guardians, I mean, they're blessed. In the past, we have a system where the child was the community people, but nowadays it's difficult because you have to uh, be mindful on how you talk to your neighbor's child because they may not, appreciate.
Mhm.
So we have a whole structure of a whole system where you have single parent who in on the rise, on the increase. I do not have the statistics, so please don't ask me
Mm.
what's the percentage. But from what we see, single parenthood is on the increase, it's on the rise. Therefore, it's breaking down. We have drugs proliferation.
Mm.
According to report, our country is at risk or is a place where drugs are transported or is, yeah,
Look.
yes. So we have the issue of rehabilitation. We do not have rehabilitation system, for example, in place, structures in place, for example. Uh, so, I mean, we have a whole range of issues. So, the access to drugs, I think drugs is easily accessible.
Mm.
So, communities have ghettos. Uh, Many times the police will go or the
The
DA will
DA.
go in communities and go to demolish structures that are used to uh, I use for selling
Mm.
of drugs. And after that, what next? They raid the place, they arrest us sometimes. Our prison centers are already overcrowded. So where do they take them? So going and demolishing the place and leaving the those who take the drug, the addicts, we put it for the lack of the better word, the addicts, leaving them and not taking them for rehabilitation. So what happens? They go back to the community. So we hear stories about children taking drugs to school,
Mm.
exposing other children to that. So I mean, it's so complex, it's so complicated. So we have all of the kind of system. So if we have all the kind of issues, I mean, if we have system in place to track those who are the traffickers of drugs, who bring drugs into the country, if we can be able to hold them
I think the
accountable.
government is taking this step.
Yes, my understanding is that the drug law has been passed.
Mm.
So we're waiting now for that to be enforced.
Mm.
Looking at the enforcement of that, that is good. We heard about a $100 million worth of
Yeah.
drugs that was arrested. There are other stories around. So how did it get here? So I mean, it's a big issue of concern, and it requires
But do you
everyone's
think as a
participation.
country we can achieve this? Right.
Well, it's possible. If we want to, we can do it. If we have the political will, we can do it.
You
You
come
say,
from
where is the
political way?
where is the will?
Mm.
There is a way, right? So if we are willing to do that, we can do. There is nothing impossible in this world.
Are
As
you
I always
thinking?
told
Are
people.
you thinking that lack of political will is a serious problem
Of
in our society?
course, of course, of course. If we have political will, we're able to put in place the mechanism to be able to track down most of the issues we are faced with.
Okay. We got to move
Yeah.
on. The next 30 to 35 minutes or so, we will be talking about your political ambition. What do you want to be representative for District 2 Nimba?
Yes. have made up my mind to take on the challenge to represent the people of District Number 2 in Makati. Why do I want to? District Number 2 has been underrepresented for the last 16 years. We have had two representatives, all males, and they have not adequately represented the people of District Number 2. We have leaders, we have people who have the charisma, people who have the ability and the experience that can better represent the people of District Number 2. And I feel that I am fully prepared to be that representative for the people of District Number 2.
If you talk about honor representation, uh, what type of individual are you in terms of representation, oversight responsibility, and lawmaking? The cardinal, some of the cardinal responsibilities of lawmakers. I guess you have observed that you believe in your word, your district is being represented.
Yeah, well, the cardinal, you just said the three cardinal responsibilities of a representative, right? Oversight, representation, and what lawmaking, right?
Mm.
Yeah, those are the responsibilities for lawmaker. But if you have lawmakers who are not doing that, are you adequately represented? It's like a district exists on the map of Liberia, but it doesn't exist at the House of Legislature where decisions are made, where the national cake is is distributed, where the national cake is decided as to the developmental priorities of the county. So I'm not thinking so, I'm saying so. There are priorities in the country that we must be able to take into full consideration. Education is one. We have to have an educated society. If we want to change Liberia and make Liberia what it is, education should be prioritized. Education should not be, people should not blame people and say because people are educated, so the country has not developed. That's falsehood. We should be able to change the mindset of Liberians. Education is not just only about going to school, reading and writing. There are so many components, there are so many aspects of education. Let's take sports, football, soccer, for example. You know that they have soccer academy, right? Okay, so what are they learning there? It's not education. They are acquiring education in soccer, right? How to play football properly, the rules, the, the, the everything concerning football. What the rule says, how you play the football, and everything. It's provided that it's taught there. How many of our young people in this country who go on the beach to play football, how many of them have excelled up to that level of being stars? By luck, by fate, some people have excelled up to the highest level of footballing.
How does that concern
I'm
the
coming.
legislature?
I'm coming. I'm talking about education. Remember
Yeah,
that?
because you said that the loss of pollution, most especially linking the house, the national legislature.
Yes, I'm coming. I'm coming because we are not prioritizing. I said we are not prioritizing our development priorities, right? And I'm naming one of those priorities, education, number one, right? So if our people who go to the legislature are looking at education, hmm, to develop the education system, initial education, to look at all components, all aspects of education, what would be that? You're going to invest more resources to education because there is an act that Liberia has signed onto, a convention that says that 20% of our national budget should be allocated to education. Are we doing that? That is not being done. But our legislators use the resources. They look at okay, because I'm a legislator, I have to go to give handouts to my people. So they prioritize the handouts over the resources that should be allocated for
You
development.
wouldn't be exempted or excluded whenever these opportunities come up as a lawmaker. But in all fairness, Madam
I wouldn't be
Rose,
exempted. Why do you say that? What's the
like,
assumption?
but since where you have majority of what you think the lawmakers will be taking at the national legislature whenever you get there, you wouldn't be exempted. You will be in the number. So that one is clear.
Okay, let me just give you an example recently about the East International Road project.
Mm,
Huh? What happened? Three senators didn't sign,
mm.
according to what I heard. And what happened? They reverted to the decisions of those senators. You
Does
understand?
it mean that you will not take your allowances and other things that the benefits that come with it with being a lawmaker?
You were talking about allowances and benefits that comes with lawmakers,
Mm,
right? That comes to lawmaker.
mm.
Okay. How are those benefits and allowances applied? Is another thing. So if 30,000 United States dollars is given to each lawmaker to go to engage their constituents across the country, and that money is invested into the various community colleges or universities. Isn't that investing it back to the community? So if you give me $30,000 and I know that at the Nima University, the TVET department does not have the requisite materials needed to develop the skills of the young people, and I invest that into that. Listen, am I not contributing to my society?
From
No,
a
I'm
larger
coming now. No,
extent,
you say if I'm
I
given, if
concern,
you
I'm
just,
concerned about
I,
the
I,
point
yeah,
I want to bring you. I'm still struggling to understand when you talk about priorities, and
yeah,
you wanted to mention education.
yeah.
This is a government for the past 5 years now has committed itself to providing a space where Liberians can find education, evidenced by the president free tuition policy, evidenced by the president paying a wise fee. This is a government that have supported the teachers to a higher extent. We can count on the youth rising projects and several other projects across the country that youth, Liberians youth have get involved with, like the NVTR and the MVTR, right? The government has empowered that institution to a higher extent, and we can see the evidence there. Liberians are truly acquiring teacher education. So I'm still struggling to understand when you measure education as a priority, which this government is not failing to say is not committed to. I'm still finding it.
You talk about payment of wire fees. We commend the government or was, and then what enables me to make better pass in what those are not in place. So
you
what
know, we need to
happens?
start from the foundation.
Exactly.
Okay, Madam Wilson, in all fairness, let's go back to Lima, placing Lima district to one of the microscope this morning. Let's look at some of the issues unfolding in District 2 with land of development and you said 16 years
Yeah.
honor representation. And if a district is being honor represented, then it tells that there is no development.
Yeah, I would say to some extent, uh, development individuals are aspiring to develop themselves,
Mhm.
but I'm talking about collective development for the country,
Okay.
for the district. Okay, we have to look at our district development plan. We need to have a district development roadmap that we all of the citizens, including the county authority, the lawmakers, and the senators,
Okay.
they should be able to have that uh, district development plan in place that every now and then you refer to and you prioritize the issues on the developing the development plan.
Let's look at
Do
the
you do
people
you do
living
you do
condition
you
in Nimba, most especially District 2. Most at times we hear about these districts
country, the issue of good room their work is something. The thing about safe drinking water, latrine, and the rest of it. Let's look at the conviction. I think you've been motivated by some of these convictions that you want to step forward to represent the people.
Yeah, so district number two is host the capital city of the County, Sanikole.
Okay.
And Sanikole is a historic city when it comes to African history. You look at the
Yeah,
OAU
sure.
was founded in Sanikole. So we have the man-made lake, Lake Tide in Sanikole, and it has become a dump site now. It's
Wow.
quite frustrating. The road from Sanikole to Ganta has taken almost 10 years to be completed. It's yet to be completed. There is progress being made, but it's yet to be completed. Sanikole has got some infrastructure that must be kept. They are unkept. So a representative who has an oversight should be able to ensure that the executive, which is headed by the executive at the county level, headed by the superintendent, the city mayor, other people, should be able to do the work, to be able to keep the city clean, should be able to ensure that the structures that are there, the infrastructure that are there are kept, they're renovated, they're well kept, they're used for the purpose intended. We have the Nima University. It has to be supported. We need budgetary allocation increment because it was a college. Now it is a university. So the university must be supported, must get the right budgetary allocation so that the population that we have can be able to benefit from that to the fullest.
That place is a city, and that place is a city.
Yeah.
And during electioneering time, you see more people focusing into that area. How prepared is Madam Wilson to beat the all that she can convince the citizen? What actually are you engaged with in terms of convincing the people that yes, comes on the 23, you can come out victorious as the next lawmaker for District 2?
For intergenerational equity. So there are a wide range of issues, like I said.
What are
And
the
those issues are,
What you want to see on this grade? Now the current environment, honorable praise so far.
yeah.
That's it.
Well, yeah, I would say to some extent, like I said, lawmaking is not about self, it's a service. This is a service to the people. It's not about yourself. It's not about acquisition of I mean, homes, buildings,
He's self-centered.
getting everything for yourself. It's not selfish. It's a selfless. It's a selfless opposition. It's for serving the people. So if you're a lawmaker, and that's just what I said the other day in a meeting. If it is for acquisition of resources for yourself, then you should go into business. Then you should go and work hard like other people who are working hard and making business and getting richer and richer. But if you want to serve the people, go into the house selflessly and serve the people. Seek the people's view. What do they want? What do they need in the community? It's not about you who is going to do that. It's about looking at the national budget And like I said, having a developmental roadmap and going by it in collaboration with the community and not yourself.
At times, those are in power. They tend to depend on some of you to come up with recommendations, right? At times, especially you get from people in District 2, you see recommendation, you understand the challenges they are going through. I you can meet with the lawmaker, sit with him, send a proposal to him, tell him that this is what the people are confronting with. I think these are some of the steps you need to take so that you can help resolve some of the issue. Has there been a time where perhaps you meet with the lawmaker, you sit with him, I mean, you preface some of the problems the people are confronted with, of which he failed to listen to it, and of which tell you to go the way you are going.
Well, he served 12 years and we've participated in the county sittings. The county sittings. At the county sittings, that's where we look at the all, I mean, Lima County sitting where all lawmakers are, and then the resources for the county, we discuss how that should be used. Interestingly, it doesn't go by the voice of the people. It's a frustrating, setting.
What do you have observed?
Yes, because I even attended.
Okay.
And we petitioned our lawmakers at that time on how to use the resources. So you said if I have met lawmakers on
I
the
mean,
issues,
particularly
District 2 lawmaker, we have not had a time where we have sat and we discuss issues like what you say. We haven't had a time to discuss that. I have met other lawmakers in the past when we were buying when our county, when I say we, when our county was buying earth moving machines. And I met one lawmaker and I told him that was a good decision at that time to buy those earth moving machines. My idea was that I have interacted with some people, particularly a guy from Rwanda, who had told me about the plan for the future. He told me in 10 years from now, Africa and other countries around the world will be attracted to Rwanda. And I asked him why. And he told me because every year we start at least 500 of our best students and we send them abroad to specialize areas of medicine, ICT, etc. And today we see how many Liberians go to Rwanda and other people from other parts of the world. So I told him, I said, okay, this is not a priority. Can we prioritize education? Can we scatter our best, send them out, sign agreement with them? When they come back home, they can work for at least 2 years, for example, at the hospital, at the community college, then, and then at the county administration. After 2 years, they can leave because we provide mentorship to other people at the county level. That way, we can solve some of the problems. Buying other machines that you do not have uh, engineers or mechanics to be able to repair them is only a burden on the county. And today we see,
Maybe they were looking at some quick political projects. Like
well,
people will complain.
exactly.
The Bar will network.
So we should not be doing quick impact projects. Or most of the quick impact projects that we did during Omil, what has happened to them? You did it quick, and it's more quick.
What is your strength as a lady? You want to represent? What have you observed about yourself to be your strength when you should have gone at the national legislature, and then you're going to prove yourself otherwise?
Well, I have a very good interpersonal relationship with people.
Okay.
Yeah, that is one of my strengths. I have a mobilization strength. I have good mobilization skills. I'm a good organizer.
Okay.
I I listened. I listen to people. I'm authentic. So it's not about just me. It's about seeking the opinions of other people, even though I have my own opinion, but trying to, especially when it comes to leadership, and you do not have monopoly of ideas. Even if you have, it's good to discuss with other people in a participatory way to see how their views align with yours, and then together, what if you can make that happen? So I have a little bit of education, which is good. Um, so I mobilize. So my strength is those are my strengths.
So meaning if you, okay, so I don't want to go there, but this is where we are. We actually running. This is where we are. Okay, tell us as per your what's your, your ambition of representing the people of this group too. Aside from your institution you operate, What have you done in District 2 that, yes, indeed, the people can look at and say, yes, Madam Wilson is best suited, she can represent us?
What have I done aside from my institution?
Mm.
Like I told you, I started this institution 10 years after high school. That means I lived from my birth, I have lived in Sanikole. And it was 2007 that I had to come to Mabufa to go to school because there was no opportunity. So that tells you, as a young girl, I have always contributed my service to my people. So I have participated in church activities, I have participated in community activities. When issues are in our community that require our participation, we participate in it to find solution to it. We contributed our individual quota uh, to issues that require whatever contribution, our moral, financial, whatever support we can provide in the community.
Do you go home? Do you engage?
Yes, I was home 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I was there 2 weeks ago. I'm going back next week to continue the engagement with the people.
What are the
It's
discussions?
about it's about it's about tracing. Would I say tracing? No, we already have the connection. We already have the people. So it's
That's
just
exactly what I
about
think. But you
reinforcement
must
and other
like
one
that's
things.
what I asked. Now you want to be representative. Your institution, yeah, though your institution been working, but
Yeah.
you are a woman, and the issue of women empowerment is key. I don't know as to whether you've been able to invest your time and energy now that you want to be representative, that the women of that particular area or that district can all say yes, we can support Mother Group.
Yeah, I am a woman. I appreciate being a woman because that's what God, the gender God gave me. I'm a proud woman. However, going to the elections, yes, good because I'm a woman, but I want both men and women, including the youth, to see me as someone who is competent to represent them. Not because I'm a woman,
Mm.
but because I'm competent. Being a woman is a plus, considering that we have the rule and now the law that 30%,
Mm.
representation of women, which
Mm.
is we can is
That you don't
plausible.
want to rely
Yes,
on.
that I don't want to rely on. And my reliance is my competence, my credibility, my integrity, my contribution to the community, what I stand for. I have stand for issues. You ask a question, for example, the Aston Mental, the extension and expansion of Aston Mental due recently the president appointed a new committee.
Mm.
We led our Libyan people, Libyan citizens, we petitioned our lawmakers
You were
against
there.
the extension and expansion of Aston Mental.
Way down in
I was directly involved
Okay.
as a member of the Daughters of the Mountain. We have an organization called Daughters of the Mountain, of which I'm a board member here in Liberia. So I have been part of the process. We are supporting girls leadership for girls leadership club in Sanikule, all of the high schools. How girls can participate not just as serving as secretaries at the various schools on the how do you call it on the student council, but to take up leadership position like presidents, vice presidents, not to be treasurers. If the boys can elect you to be treasurers, and you save the money and you report, you account for the money afterwards. So what happened? Why can't you be the leader since you have the trust to hold the money? You can also be a good leader. So we are providing the girls the leadership skills they need. We're providing them the mentorship as well.
People who can take leave of you or go to the telephone line. In 1 minute, tell us your plan for District 2 ahead of the election. And after you should have won the election, like say, when you should have, because you got to work, because you take into consideration how politics was in
or what works in life,
Liberia.
especially in the rural setting.
What type of lawmaker do you want to?
My vision is a representation that is participatory.
You want to decentralize the national legislature?
Well,
Because if you talk about participatory form, then the people
Yeah, the people
themselves
are
need to
directly
participate.
involved.
yeah, the people
They are the
must.
ones saying,
I am the one elected to represent my people. So the power I have is not for me; it's for them. So there will be regular consultation. So I'm talking about a representation that is inclusive, that is participatory, and in the best interests of women, of children, and of men.
Okay.
This is what I envisage.
Okay.
0770907 0880907 are the numbers we take calls. Yeah, take your calls now. 0770907 0880907 are the numbers. Call us. Now we have of Madam Sunda GP Wilson. We'll talk to this person. Good morning.
Good morning. How
Quickly,
you
let's hear
doing?
you.
Go
Good
ahead.
morning.
Let's hear you. What's your name?
Thank you. My name is Abraham. I join you from Brooklyn. Oh, let me say thank you to your studio guest. I'm a proud son of Nima, and this is my first time listening to her. But I've heard about her, sometimes back when I was out of Liberia. And I'm so excited this morning listening to her. And her voice reminds me of the former president this morning. I'm not feeling too well. I'm just going to call because I'm so touched. But I would like to share my number with her and she can place a call to me so we can have some private discussion. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I think we will take the number for the
Yeah,
phone
we'll take your
afterwards.
number
Yeah,
for this,
because
sir.
when you call your number, now you put yourself in easier. Good morning.
Hello. Yeah, good morning. This is Prince Smith Nathan. I'm calling from Getty Street.
Quickly, Prince, let's hear you.
Yeah, so I very appreciate the honorable woman in studio, and I really want to, because for me too, I'm from Senegal. I'm from the Blaze Assembly. So I'll be happy to fall part of team. Though I reside in Monterrey, going to school here, but I want to be part of team. I really admire her platform, though I don't know in fact, but I think she can make a good.
Thank you. He thinks that you can make a good representation at the national legislature. 0770907907 0880907 and we take one or two more calls. Yeah, and we'll call this segment of the day. And coming up next, we have, of course, we certainly will be having our second
morning.
final segment. Good morning.
Thank you. I'm Emmanuel M. Tupac Jr., and I call you this morning from the Office of the Intellectual Class of the whole community. Let me say good morning to your studio guest. I listened to her platform, as she did her analysis, and quite frankly, she's done well. And it is about time. I want to encourage Liberia. I'm also from Nima County. It is about time, that we try electing women to the Senate because what of the men, elected over there, they are just playing chicken jar with us. So I think when women put their hand beyond something, when they put their hand into something, they make sure it is successful. And like you said, it talks about being participatory. That is the kind of democracy and the kind of
Definitely the
legislature.
Council of Democracy. This will be our last caller. We got to go on this segment. Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's hear you.
My name is Mario Esbido. I'm calling from the borough of Nikutan.
Let's hear you quickly.
Yeah, I want to send a man and thank you for presentation. I stay in Nimba County for more than 9 months. Working there. So the issue about the hospital around the track there, I would like to my brother. One of my friends were working together. They may have an accident. We came to the hospital. If you say we were not around at that time, we were going to leave the hospital by running away. Because sometimes a train gets closer to the hospital before it starts going home. And very bad. Yeah, so I think if she gets there, that should make way that the hospital can be extended from one place to another area. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, we got to leave the call segment. It seems that all of the callers, it seems that your deliberation was complimentary to the callers. I mean, almost everyone that hated you for your platform. But we got to take leave of you now. You listen to the callers. You have anything to say to them quickly?
Well, thank you so much. I want to appreciate them for being receptive. I think our message is resonating not just within our district, but across Liberia. So I want to say thanks to them for calling and for encouraging us to be consistent with our message and to also hold on to our values so that in the future our people can take us for our word because we stood up for something and we continue to stand up for what is right.
Is there anything we did in touch that you want to talk about in that same meeting?
Well, I want to say
Wilson. Thanks for honoring our invite, and we wish you all the best. We hope we can have another discussion coming up another time. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you to another invite for another day. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, to go, Madam Wilson comes from District Number 2, Nima County, and we take a message from our sponsor, like our partner, Telecel, right here on this radio. This is Good Morning Liberia. I'm Abraham Parker. I'm right here. Harris Willie is here. Let's join Telecel for a message, and then we'll take it up coming up.
Are you tired with slow internet? Are you tired with slow internet? Do you want super fast and affordable internet? Telecel Liberia is here to provide all your internet service needs. The internet is moving at a fast pace, and only super fast internet speed can help you keep up. At Telecel, our internet packages are divided into distinct categories. Premium.
Be speed and fast with the fastest internet service in Liberia? Yes, Datacell, connecting the unconnected.
Are you tired with slow internet? Do you want super fast and affordable internet? Telecel Liberia is here to provide all your internet service needs. The internet is moving at a fast pace, and only super fast internet speed can help you keep up. At Telecel, our internet packages are divided into distinct categories: Mega, Optimal, Premium, Elite, beaches, homes, offices, urban areas, and much more. Anything is possible.
Indeed, it's on Good Morning Liberia. It's great to be back on this second edition. Listen to our partner, Telecel Liberia. Telecel Liberia is the best internet service provider. You go there, you got lots of packages where you can experience fast speed internet in Liberia. Okay, your home, your offices, and don't you, we also Liberia are proud to associate with Telecel Liberia. So be a part, well, they enjoy Telecel. It's on Good Morning Liberia, continuation of the show. Like we said, we have the country director of Accountability Lab, Liberia. He's here this morning. How is he going to initiate the conversation here? And as you mentioned,
Yeah, sure.
will join us. So I think you can just have your
Yeah, sure, Paco, like you said, we are back on the second of the show, and we have of course Mr. Lawrence Yeri, for Society of Hamburg. He is the accountability lab project.
It's a pleasure being here. I know it's my first time. Yeah, but
I guess the first.
absolutely. But it's always a good thing to talk to. It's also a good thing to talk to us and to our conscience about what the futuristic aspect of our country should look like, and based on our thinking and based on our actions. So I'm happy to be here and looking forward to a season conversation.
That's good. Based on peace building being one of your primary focus and transitional justice, tell us a bit about the accountability.
So at the Accountability Lab, we try to seek to do three things. One, to make active citizens, responsible leaders, and accountable institutions that we partner to help them foster thinkings, help them foster building bodies of knowledge, because no development is outside of data. No conversation that should be structured that leads to um, engraving thinkings and reorientation that is outside data. So building body of knowledge is key to the work that we do. And the next thing is how do we learn from those body of knowledge to re-engineer programmings to give a thought process around what the community wants and not we as a civil society organization sits and think about, look, this is what the community wants because donors are driving the way we think. And I think this has been a conversation around the civic space over the time. And most especially, how do the work of civil society, and this is where I want to talk a little bit about the work we do and how key it is. Now, what we do is also to support national agenda.
Okay.
And not just in ways that is government driven, but in ways that is independent, in ways that whatever we do, and this is the crumbs of it, government, civil society, the media, the private sector, these four estates, when you put them together, our work should lead towards promoting national growth and development. And it may be independent of different size, but when you bring them together, it should lead to that. So the next thing that we do is to make citizens active, is to encourage citizens to think differently. No society evolves greater than the thinking of its people or the mindset of its people. So at the Accountability Lab, our programs are around inclusive accountability, meaning we are looking not only at financial accountability. Normally, when we call our main people look for financial accountability only. We are not just saying governance and respect for rule of law. We are also saying environmental accountability. We are also saying behavioral accountability. We are saying societal consciousness accountability to an extent where whatever we do as a state, as a people, that should lead to a greater development for the person and being less selfish about how your contribution is to your country. So we do a lot of things. And the next thing that we do, that is the fourth part of it, we partner with government institutions, but being independent. So on the open government platform, we serve as the civil society and lead, because that is a co-creation process. And people, I want to talk a little bit, just maybe less than 1 minute. Government, civil society, the thinking should be different. We are not, um, like I always say, civil society is not watchdog. That is an Asian definition. Civil society is a critical voice in the development process of any nation. So we are building data, we are bringing. So the analogy I always make about watchdog is you get a dog in your yard, the dog sees good stranger or bad stranger because it doesn't know them, it will bark. We don't want to be that kind of voice. We want to raise conscious voice on national development because we have data to prove. We want to raise conscious voice on national government because we see that their development, their actions or their inactions that are not in the interest of citizen-centered development. So when we say respect the rule of law, we saying when we say don't give it to only VIP, we are saying also give it because citizens need service delivery.
We will move in,
Mhm.
but looking at the governance space of our country,
Mhm.
Liberia, and you having an institution that, of course, we will look at and will place the word accountability on the microscope this morning. How has it been for you as a civil society organization?
I think it's an interesting space that we have as a country. It's interesting because we having as a country delineated between what politics is, what propaganda is, and what governance is. Politics should be based around ideology. It should be based around what it is that a particular group of people believe that they can lead this country into the right path. Form an ideology around it, and then you have supporters. Propaganda is an old British word that simply means spinning to win, meaning the politicians can use a particular actions or vision to rally people around what they want to see happen, and they will use jargons and use examples, and they will use a lot of um, colorful words to get people following what they want, and they do it convincingly. However, governance talks more about crossing the divide of propaganda to admittance. So if you're running a governance space, and for example, as an individual, and you know that your actions has impeded the progress of the country, are you mature enough to resign? Admit that, look, this my action was wrong. That is governance. So governance cut across. So whether you win the election, you don't win all. You look for Liberians that are smarter enough in every aspect, whether their political views are different, but if they have the right skills, how do you integrate them so that the governance of our country move forward? Because in the end, this is what happens when we shall die and live. After 175 years counting, how can we prove to our kids? And how do we go back home to have arguments and leadership to our kids home and in our communities when, of course, our actions at our workplaces and the decisions we make does not lead, the decisions do not lead to national growth and development, but lead to personal self at the middle and what we enjoy for the short time. So the society, when I say interesting, is pregnant with a lot of selfishness, is a lot of greed, and a lot of personal self before nation. A lot of celebration of individuals over philosophy. A lot of celebration over individuals rather than institutions. A lot of celebration over let's have a particular individual for the state. And every time I have this conversation, it should not be treated as the conversation of the current, but conversation of the past that are led to the consciousness that is unconscious of the present. So everything that we are inheriting that you see happening in our government space is as the result of the orientation, either consciously or unconsciously, of the past action of the leadership in the country. So, for example, what is it in our governance space that the national police is normally a VIP police? It's not a service-driven police.
That your institution has observed.
That's what we've observed. And this is not just from here. This is from if you read back to when
what rendered you to such a judgment?
because for me personally, I did training on rule of law with the Folker Berradon Academy from Sweden. So I understand the difference on. So when you say rule of law, first we are not looking at institutions. We are looking at principles that underpins the rule of law. For example, integrity, doing the right things at all time. Are our security apparatus doing the right things at all time, even if no one is watching them? That question, they can answer it. Then the next one is transparency. Are they transparent with the public? When you see people on the tail lane, that if they are not section time, they say right for everybody to be on that lane, risking the life of other citizens. Sometimes when people stop them, they pick up phone and call, and then somebody on the other side screaming at the police. It's only right for those people on the other side screaming at the police as well. So the rule of law, then you got accountability. Is it the right decisions, the power you have? Is it the right way that we are dispensing this power as security actors? So if you go further, inclusion, when somebody living with disabilities, when they are about to use the rule, are the police conscious enough to help that person cross, or the person should use the key before they cross, or wheeling the wheels before they cross? For example, where are our crosswalks? Are they placed in the right places for us to use that is right for everybody? For example, the crosswalk on a Crown Hill. Is that crosswalk right? When a car can brake and brake anytime up Crown Hill and run into pedestrian that may be
I
crossing,
think it's been misplaced.
it's misplaced.
It's holistic. One would say.
It's misplaced, that particular crosswalk. And not only that crosswalk, other crosswalk. All I'm saying is that our security apparatus need to take one step back and know that the rule of law is based on principles, not only delivery.
With the involvement of the citizens as well.
It's both sides. When you say rule of law, what's the principle of accountability, inclusion, and integrity comes in? We are saying citizens have a part to play, but we are also saying the security have the part to play. But security sector should be rather service delivery as well.
So many if you will go by all of what is written, or all of what should be for the and we zero.
No, we can say zero. Because if you look back from the time some of us were in the University of Liberia during Chancellor time up to now, you can see there has been progress. All we are saying is that the progress should be placing the citizens at the center and using the principles of the rule of law as the cardinal aspect that we can go. Because it's not just about, when you say rule of law, it's not just security sector. We are saying also, if you went to Ministry of Transport to get your driver license, are they respecting the laws that they have on their books? Are they saying, if they say we should all queue, is someone coming and taking the back rows and getting some cash, behind door, and they are taking it and they are processing that person faster than those that are in a queue? Respect for rule of law is not just security institution; it's every institution in our governance space. Going to the court system. Why is it that the court system, we don't know the exact prices that you will pay, fees that you will pay when you enter in the court system, so that people are not, using the opportunities that are not clearly stated for people to get. When you go for passport, why should we get passport the same money? When you go to renew, you pay the same money. I think those things need to be re-looked at. They need to. You can register your business the same amount. You go to renew the business, it's the same amount. Renewal should be less than your prior registration. So registration and renewal cannot be the same. All I'm saying, the rule of law should be sensitive enough, respected by those delivering, respected by those coming for the service. So when we can do that, what we are doing is that we are helping our country to move one step further.
Harris has a question, but it's a very, but since we're still on the surface, Harris, let me just come in. The issue of independence, the former president talked about this, former President Ellen Johnson said one of our weaknesses as a country is we have institutions like civil society, institutions like yours and the rest of it. But we don't have the strength to uphold whenever something's passed out in our country to maintain or in maintaining whatsoever debate we will put up. One is most of the institutions are not independent. You have accountability lab like here. Now, if I got you right, you also partner with government. How does that prove you being independent or backing the statement that is one of our weaknesses that we are not independent. Some institutions you think that should be independent to push the case. Sometimes you lose interest.
So that's a very nice question. And this is the question that I think our people need to understand. That when you partner, it doesn't take away your independence. When you partner, it doesn't take away your level of conscious existence and following your own principle, internal principle as an institution. So when you partner with government, you are not working for government. I'd like to make that very clear.
Mm.
You are working with government. Civil society is not an anti-government institution or anti-government institutions that are set up. No. Civil society are consciously established institutions based around thematic areas that are able to articulate their views without fear or favor to any government that exists in terms of regime and to the government of Liberia in its totality. We may be in the room with the government, but government actors that are seeing us in the room, we are the critical voice in the room. You let one of them call now, they will tell you that when I'm in the room, it's a serious conversation in the room. In as much as we are partnering, we are not milking our independence to you because you are, say, a minister or not. No, we are discussing the issue, bringing our suggestions on the table. Look, it is too confrontational in this country that every time we have to take onto the airwaves before people listen to us. But when we are in the room and we're having a conversation, we can make the arguments in the room and cross the arguments in the room. And you may disagree, but when we leave, most of the time when we have civil society in the room, the government tends to listen rather than when we are on the air. When you're on the airwaves or you tend to say you want to protest, they will call you for compromise, which is not the healthy way to run any space. The healthy way is engage prior, see what the government is doing, read the documentations, go to them in the room and raise the argument why clauses in those documentations are not in the interest of citizens and give the counter suggestions why it should be. For example, I wrote the president an open communication and said to the president, look, build a backstage team of stronger Liberians and lead this country to a national, what I call conference, all Liberian conference, which is not technically my personal view. It's something that I borrowed from the Taylor time, and I think it's in the interest. You can't go negotiate, for an example, for rules. You have no design offering on that negotiation board. That we went to JICA, the Japanese international development. They gave us road to build the Somalia draft. As we speak, there are traffic on the Somalia draft. We built that road in the second decade and completed in the third decade of the new millennium. That road looked like 1940 road. No overhead. It means we didn't have design to offer. Why can the president set up architects, architectural designers that are able to design diverse roads, diverse architecture, so that when we're ready to go out, and you can do that in the conference, one day, and get these young people thinking days before, months before they come, and they bring different designs and do a lot of different presentations. We keep them at the Ministry of Public Works. The day that we have opportunity to go and lobby for a rule, we are carrying these designs so that they are modern architecture. They have overhead. How can you build a country? You want to drive people from rail line, but the road still laying down one road. So to drive the people from there, look, I think if we have designs that have overhead bridges that have different interchanges, the people will not stay at rail line simply because the car can stop. The car will be going different directions. We need to think as a people. We need to stop being this confrontational.
It comes with too many responsibilities.
No, that's why the independence of the civil society comes in. When we are offering these suggestions, it's because we are independent of our minds. We don't take loans from the government. We don't take grants from the government of Liberia. We are independent of what we do. So we can argue and put forth the argument on the table and say, look, please do this, do that. Because look, this is a country that our architecture, none of our national state building look like any cultural design that we have. It means we are not thinking as a people. You go to Ghana, you see the Ghanaian Flagstaff House, which is their executive mansion, look like the stool that the king sits on in the Ashanti, that the Ashanti Hine sits on, which is the Ashanti king. They build their mansion that way. They design it. It represents them. Show me one building in this country that look like a hut that we have in the village, that look like a mosque that we have. We don't have a national theater as a country. So this kind of conversation cannot be a confrontational conversation. We cannot only discuss policy issues in this country. We need to discuss practical, developmental, policy-driven issue, and not just the hard politics every day is propaganda rather than discussing governance. That's why I said before, there's a there's a thin line between the two things, but in Liberia, it's heavily propaganda and little politics, and government is very minute. So civil society in the room of government reduces the tension, builds a more stronger role. So when we come out to work together as a state, the friction also is less than if you were not having civil society in the room.
That Harry is coming with a question, and then we move on.
Mm.
Okay, so this is where we are now. You made mention of civil society coming to the realm of the government when you have negotiation. I know you guys have passed on negotiations too as well.
And sometimes fall apart. That's the truth.
That's good. But let's look at the war accountability.
Mm.
Put in fact to your institution, TAPWT, and the rest of it. What have you achieved so far?
I think a lot of things we've achieved. The first thing when I came back to Liberia and I met a Brit, like someone from Britain, and he's a Scottish basically. So when I went Blair Glancos, and I was tasked with to raise a young organization, which was just an idea, into a formidable, not just national organization, but help it to spread through Africa and the rest of the world. And then when I got that idea, I was like, oh, this is what I've lived all my life as a refugee. And I was just coming back, and I tell people I was a double refugee because I was refugee in La Côte d'Ivoire, and then I became refugee in Ghana. And then when I came back, I'm proud of that aspect of me simply because it allowed me to be able to raise an organization that today is strong, is firm, not just in Liberia, but now we are in 13 countries, not just my one, but this shows for the expansion in Africa, yes, it's something that I led that to go to Mali, Nigeria, Niger, South Africa. We are in DRC. This African Zimbabwe, this African part, strong young people and accountability lies independent in each of these countries. So the reason why we work the way we work, when we say accountability, there's one thing that underpins accountability, it's integrity. Doing the right things at all times, even if no one is watching you. Because sometimes when people are watching, it's mostly as seven, you want your boss to look around, you want community people to look around, you want a lot of people to think you're doing good things when actually maybe what is under your mind for what you do is basic, maybe greed, is basic R7 just because you want people to you want to show how big you are. Look, as a country, and this is what one of the things that I taught. As a country, when I came 2012, we had the first fish saloon at Ala on 16th Street. But there's something that I took. I knew that I used to be a musician. I used to sing. I used to do a cappella. So I thought that, look, I thought jingo to be outdated. Jingo is not creative enough. Jingo is not engaging enough. I stepped out to the music union. Cecil Griffin then was the music union president. We had a meeting, the first time in my life to see over 75% in one room. Ebola was ongoing. We separated ourselves, did all the washing.
Yeah.
We agreed to do this song, everybody free of charge. Whereas Studio gave us their studio free, T-Bone Studio, Tamabondo, may so rest in peace, gave us that studio free. The Moravia Community Church gave us their church free. to be able to do this. We get the music free, over 75 different artists, Christian and secular artists, Pico,
I saw that
Traco.
video.
And when the first time in my life, I felt that Liberia has done something for itself. That video went viral. People used that video to campaign. And for my first time, I saw that when you think as a person, when you think as a people, you can change your own condition. That was our first, and then we established the HIPCO Accountability Network. This is the biggest conscious musical platform in the country that we are using music for social change. The first music we did after Ebola was Corruption by Maze. The next one was Young Hoover, and other musicians, and Peaches, and Maze, and other. We did Know Who to Vote For. Know Who to Vote For won a global award the very next year in 2017. Because that Know Who to Vote For hasn't been used only in Liberia.
Okay.
Even because we did subtitling, it's used in other countries, and these guys won a war. I could go on naming a lot of things we've done. The first time in Liberia that Liberian young people were brought together to discuss Liberia's developmental path under peace, what we call the Liberian Youth Peace Building Conference, was held in 2017. It was done by Accountability Lab. We brought young people from every county. I could talk about the first time film festival was held in this country. The Accountability Lab established the first film institution that is called the Liberian Film Institute. I could talk about Smart Liberia coming out of our incubator. I could talk about many other youth organizations in the country that are coming, because this is my point. I have thought that coming back home, if I will not do anything in my life, the biggest thing I can do in my team and I can do is to impact the life of people, because this is where the war is. The war is on the mind. If we can achieve that young people stop fighting mentally, start reorientating themselves, rethinking things and processing things, and say, look, I can do this thing. If I'm cut out of the equation of Liberia, then I'm dead, and the richest place will be the graveyard.
Okay, so let's go to the issue of accountability. Now, linking finance, like you said, sometimes people will say, I think talk about accountability, people talk about finance, their entire attention will be on finance. Your institution, being an institution, supposed to hold people accountable. What has been your observation? There are a lot of corruption allegations in our country. Public figures sometimes talk about corruption. People get involved. They say public officials are corrupt. What have you done? Maybe working with integrity or what is stuff? What are they? Anti-graft institutions in our country to make sure that there is corruption.
So the way we work as accountability, I would like to innovate. We like to bring the spin to the conversation. So we studied also that corruption is linear if you name a sheep, which is good. It's linear because if you arrest people, put them in jail, our young people cannot see who the role model is. The person is in jail. So we say, okay, instead of naming and shaming, which we do at a very minimal level, let's name a theme, which is an anti-corruption approach to build, to showcase to Liberians that look, I respect the religious leaders. I respect people that have done well in other countries, like Jesus Christ. You ask on young people, Jesus Christ is my role model. You ask on young people, Muhammad is my role model. Fine. These divine beings now are good. But why don't we focus on, some of them will tell you Mahatma Gandhi. He's dead and gone. He did well for India. You see Martin Luther King. He did well for the US and for the black race. You hear them say Nelson Mandela. But my question we're asking is, there are more good people in Liberia than bad people. And I strongly believe this statement, and I stand by this statement any day. There are more good people in this country than bad people. But this is what has happened. The bad people have taken the limelight in the country in terms of leadership and has continuously hurt us and hurt our children. They recruited brightest young people and turned them against the state. How do we redeem these young people by creating a program that is also able to get them out and doing better? So we formed something called Integrity Icon. So yesterday was a celebration of the 8th edition of Integrity Icon. We started 2015, and 2015 basically we are celebrating public servants. I can tell you that there's a we formed in DEA that where we think that people are not fighting drugs in this country, there are DEA officers that are fighting drugs. And in the president of President Sirleaf convoy, there was a DEA, if you remember that story, there's a DEA officer that arrested a drug in President Sirleaf convoy, Alfonso Ramsey. He's an icon. He was nominated. This is an 8 months long program, thorough program. And trust me, we've got policemen in a country where people think that all policemen are corrupt, and we believe that every policeman is not
Yeah.
corrupt.
He spent, if you just see somebody,
No.
something happens.
No.
Because if you will look at one person and classify this person to be
Absolutely
an
not.
integrity icon, what is this guy, the guy who found the money?
So,
Emmanuel Tolu.
so I can tell you, that this program is an 8 months long program. We have 3 months of nomination across this country. We have volunteers that move on bikes, and I will always say thank you to those volunteers because they really make it happen. We are only discovering people. These people are already working in government. Some of them have been janitors, some of them have been LRA personnel collecting revenues and also controller at LRA. You know what that means? Person is ahead of finance, and the person has the ability to take, but they refuse to take. Then not just that, people from agriculture, health practitioner, where you find a country where you go to the health center. It's challenging because some of them are on their phones. Some of them are not paying attention. But we got people that are doing well. In these 8 months, we have independent judges that are cut across people that are not Liberians, but working in Liberia for at least 5 years. We have Liberians raising a voice on promotion of anti-corruption. And these people, we push them, we select them finally, bring them in a room, and they look at this something. We do investigation behind everybody to understand when you take we go to them and tell them congratulations, or we pick our phone to call the first time. Some of them can say that phone on our program because they don't expect that people will be celebrating. So this is our approach. We form 40 integrity icons in this country across government sectors. Then we also celebrated Talu for that act that he did, and we call him a special icon. All I'm saying is this: there are more good people in this country than bad people. If we, for example, if the media is able to shine light, maybe develop program, every media house develops some program around how do we shine light to get young people, because these role models, we take them on the road to schools, to marketplaces, to have conversation, and then young people ask them how they say that they are living the way they are living. What is their motivation? So these young people have role models that is a teacher, role model that is a health practitioner. So if you want to be a health practitioner, then you can understand this health practitioner. So that public service is not seen as a place that people must go to steal from the government. People must go to enrich themselves. There's a country where it's interesting. I keep saying this. It's very difficult to find a Liberian that hasn't gone to politics and become rich. Because it come back to what I said from the beginning. What I said from the beginning is politics, propaganda, and governance. And the governance aspect, people tend to ignore it because that is the value base. That is where we need to catch them. That is where we need to rethink, rebrand this country and make sure that we are moving in the right direction. But I think that our approach to anti-corruption is more preventive, and to prevent corruption by changing people's mindset is far better because the number of people that will tend to be corrupt will be less, and then we'll have less fight against corruption.
One is thing, Mr. Bill, relative to what you mentioned in terms of rolling across government solutions, identify people that in integrity rather
Mm.
than space. Let's consider about how do we go about that? Because for instance, like the NRA,
Mm.
accountability lab doesn't have anyone in the NRA. We're able to detect someone in our system that upholds integrity. So what do you look for in a person? I mean, what are the driving factors you look for in a person that identify to be that person upholds integrity?
Yeah. So there's a whole list of criteria set up. The first thing we know that there are other people that do consultancy. You come to work with our country, so you're restricted to be Liberians. Then we also make sure that you must be a public servant from the security angle, and then you must be a civil servant in government. We check that you're a civil servant, and you're a public servant if you belong to the security institutions. And we make sure that you are an active security personnel. Then there are other in-depth criteria. Have you taken bribe before? And we got a way, we got instruments that we can test. So there are integrity tests that we have.
Okay.
There are other things that we can test them on. And trust me, if we put you through the integrity test, if you have done something, we will know. This is scientific. It's not something that you just guessed and people do that.
Mhm.
When we send investigators to also check behind them, look, when somebody has integrity, it doesn't stop to their workplaces. It moves to their homes.
Okay.
It moves to their communities.
Okay.
There is something burning in them to keep being everywhere they are. And trust me, we've judged people before, and they've reached the last five, because normally every year is five. And we've gone to film them. In the 11th hour, we discovered that they've done something wrong, and we've dropped them.
Okay.
And so the process is very, very in-depth. It deals directly with, because we don't want a situation where we gave you somebody integrity icon, and then later we'll take it from you because we found out that you did something, because they are under that agreement.
Oh, okay.
Now, even though we have you now, if you don't live according to your standards, trust me, we'll take this from you and we'll declare to the public that this is what you did, and this is why we are taking our award from you.
Are there financial benefit attached to the awards?
No, we don't put any financial benefit, and this is deliberate.
Okay.
People with integrity, when you celebrate them, none of them that we celebrate have come back to say they want money. You know why? Because people with integrity, money is not their motivation. The key thing that motivates them is not money. In fact, when we even declare them integrity icon, that title alone. In fact, the title have led some of them to now. One of them that is a policeman is on status, because when they call me to validate him, and the guy was very excited. It's like, thank you guys for doing this for these officers and these people in the country, because we thought what we were hearing was more of a hype from other people that we spoke with. Look, this country has too many good people. There are too many, but the difference is this, and we are not making them. And I really want to make this caveat: we are not making them. We are only discovering. Discover just means just take off the cover over it and expose them to the world. That's
Okay.
all we are doing.
Mr. Yellow, today is International Anti-Corruption, and you've run an integrity institution. It speaks for. Give us your overall sessions about corruption in Liberia.
I mean, because we also work with the national, I'm the second civil society actor in the National Integrity Forum and Accountability Lab in Santal. We are in that group. We understand that the perception of Liberians, Santal just did a perception study that showed that out of every 10 Liberians, you have 9 of them thinking that this country is highly corrupt, which is scary, but it's also hopeful if we can develop programs that work on the mind. Look, if we just focus on mental reorientation and go to kindergarten, work with our kids at that level. Look, there are many things in our education system that point towards anti-corruption. And I'm going to point out few for those who are listening, so that they understand that these things were deliberately set up to get rid of bad behavior and corrupt attitude. One, None of us went to school late. It was condoned by our school.
Okay.
Lateness is something that our school system frowns at any level. What we're teaching us and what they're still teaching, but they haven't, and this is where I think they should come out clearly to say it and make it value based. And instead of punishing children, make children to understand why they get punished because they come late. Government actors go to work, some of them come very late, ask other people to sign in for them, but they get money at the end of the month from our coffers when they are not putting in the right number of time. When you were in kindergarten or in elementary high school, when you didn't go to school on a number of time, they wrote the absence for your parents to see. So your parents can ensure that you come, and that absence in some schools, they grade you for it.
Yeah, great.
What that means is that when it's a reward system and also a deterrent system. So this is an anti-corruption approach, because if we follow what we were taught and keep to work and we are on time and we have skills, if we're there for 8 hours and we are judiciously using those 8 hours, there will be productivity.
Okay.
And if there are productivity, we affect the growth. And if the growth is affected, we affect development. If we affect development, it means futuristically we'll be planning well for our young people.
Let's look at
So then the next one that our school system do, and every time I look back at it, I say, well, why we not grabbing this? And why would the president, and the former president, come out and say the school system is just a mess? It's not true. In its entire form, it's not.
Okay.
It is challenging. I agree. It is challenging because I will talk about the bureaucrats. But this is the next thing that we are taught, that look, you will not misbehave. You will not cheat on exams. To an extent, sometimes when they're putting us for exam, they spray us out. What they're saying is that cheating is wrong. When I was going to school in Ganta Methodist, in the gymnasium, they put your number on the armchair and your name rather, and you come in. For example, my name normally used to be L Yulu. So I know that my chair, and before you come, before the test day, there's a map to place out. So you know exactly where you're sitting. You don't carry any paper in that hall, you carry only your pen and pencil. You walk in a hall. What is the school system is teaching is that cheating is wrong and should not be tolerated in a civilized society.
We got 9 minutes. Yes, we got 9 minutes. So I really want you just in split seconds to tell us which setup do you think we can focus as a country if we are not doing well in fighting corruption? Which setup can we target?
If we want to move forward as a state, every sector is important, but feeding food security is key. Look, anybody that control your stomach, control your destiny. Let me speak the Kolokwa. Food security is key. We can't take $3 million and be putting it in food.
Meaning if we are to fight corruption in Liberia.
If you are to fight corruption, food security is key. Look, when people can't eat, they can be desperate. When people thinking about meeting the daily needs of their family, they are desperate. But look, LSCC is a key place that we need to focus.
Okay.
And not only LSCC, but procurement, PDCC. So the whole anti-graft institution, we need to focus on them and make sure that, look, the reason I've said food security first is we need to feed ourselves as a state.
Okay.
Then the price of food will drop. Then people would thinking that they're stealing because they want meat, ends meat, which is a bad thing in its totality. We will get rid of that other aspect. But look, procurement, most of the perceptive issue of corruption is around procurement, public procurement.
Okay.
Not only public procurement, because all these things we are talking as NGOs, as CSO, we ourselves need to be clear of what we are saying. So procurement needs to be one of the key places that we focus.
Okay.
So PPCC needs to be supported in terms of programming.
Okay.
LSCC, the same thing in terms of programming. Then when GSC brings a report, the legislators need to act on the report. Civil society can pick it up, we can raise all the advocacy, but the legislators need to act on the report. We need to start making people in this country to understand that, look, doing wrong in public places, cheating in public places, hurting this country is it's a no-go zone. But you see, that's why we are still calling for the War and Economic Crime Code. I'm 100 in support of that. Why? The economic component, the war component will deter and show our young people that the cultural impunity is bad.
Okay.
The economic component will also teach young people that, look, you don't need to come to government with a rush for wealth attitude. So we need the both of them. We need to ensure that it's established in this country. We need to ensure that we prosecute the right people. We need so that when we are doing more preventive anti-corruption, it's productive to the larger scale, so that more young people are not recruited from an earlier statement by these corrupt elders.
Okay. From my end, we can get to the telephone line after Harris. How do your institution see the report from the Global Magnitsky Act? 5 government officials have been sanctioned. 3 resigned, 2 still in process.
Yeah, two stay in process because I think we need integrity in public spaces. We need to prove that when our partners help us, something we don't have the guts to do as a state, when our partners help us to do so. And I think those sanctions are in the right direction. I think those sanctions are necessary. I think more sanctions even need to come to deter, to show to people in governance spaces that, look, you don't come to these spaces and abuse your power. You don't come to those spaces and just act any way you want to act. If Liberia cannot act, then its partners, especially our long-standing partners, should act. And I think with the 2 senators who are still senators, the people need to punish them and take them from there in the elections. Because look, and this is why I think the others are trying to get into and the legislature, because they see the legislature, and that is the wrong branding of the legislature, a space where individuals with tinted characters are protected. And that's why the legislature is at the moment, where a space where people with tinted character, warlords, people who are accused of corruption are being shielded, are under the armpit of being lawmakers, and they are immune from persecution. Absolutely not. But you see, the culture of impunity continues to reign. And I think as an institution and as an individual Liberian, I think it's totally wrong for our legislature to be seen as a haven of wrong people.
To what extent you think this is affecting the country as a whole?
It's very much doing that, to an extent where when you see the election ballot that is coming, you'll see more people running to the legislature. People want to be lawmakers when some of them know they have absolutely no skills for doing that.
We'll take 2 calls now. We got to go.
Yeah, we got to go to the phone line. 0770-907-907, 0880-907-907. Are the numbers callers. Maybe live in the program, we have the executive director of accountability. That's the country director of accountability in Liberia. 0770-907-907. 0880-907-907. While we are with the calls, Mr. Yu, there is this question I need to ask you. With all what you mentioned, ranging from legislature, is now safe haven for those that continue to commit crimes in this country, corruption. I'm saying those that continue to practice corruption in this country. What is your fear? I mean, judging from your statement as a civil society organization, what is your fear if this continues to persist in our country?
On development, my fear is also that we have some institutions that should be supporting civil society actors and some of us who want to see good, but those institutions are taking sides, especially the Liberia National Bar Association. The Liberia National Bar Association should be one of the strongest civil society organizations, independent organization supporting the rule of law. When its actors and its individuals are there to be independent.
Let's just wait and talk to this person. Good morning.
Good morning, and how are you?
Let's hear you quickly. Name where you call from.
I'm James W. Fake here. I'm calling from the 12th Street community, Painesville.
Let's hear you quickly.
Okay. Okay, I want to thank Mr. Yelu. I listened to him well, and all the analysis being made in the best interest. There are conditions that can create avenues to actually fight corruption, and especially when it comes to perceptions in this country. One thing I have problem with, for instance, it's been perceived by many officials of government that Liberia health delivery system is weak. So whenever anything happens to them, you see all of them flying out of this country. It's wrong. It is not true. I was in school. I can remember Liberia health delivery system has been one of the best delivery system health delivery system in West Africa. People used to leave from other countries to come here.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
what is happening here,
we
where they are
obviously we
perceived
sorry.
that way. Let them, instead of flying, let them put the money in and improve the system.
Okay, definitely. We've got
So
to
we'll call it.
we have
Call
been
it.
reminded several times
Yeah.
by the news department to be held in contempt.
So, Mr. Yeli, can just wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. But you know, the reason why the health system will be like that, I don't want to let it go. It's because when you have state actors who think that saving lives of others is not important when their life get in danger, they will fly somewhere to save it, which is a bad practice. But I want to say thank you guys so much for inviting me. This is my first time, but I look forward to
Yeah,
another
sure.
engagement. But I think what I would close with, if Liberia must improve, we must work on our mindset. We must try to understand that no matter what we do as individuals, is consummate into a larger ball, which may be failure of the state in terms of development, may be progress to the state in terms of development. Now we are at a crossroad. The best time to do is take the path to development, but personally reorientate yourself, societally reorientate,
Okay.
and let's move forward. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so kindly for coming, Mr. Lawrence Yellow. He represents Accountability Lab. As a matter of fact, he is the country director of that integrity institution, the Stand Up Like in Liberia. Harris, your parting comment, we gotta
Yeah,
go.
definitely. We are up for the weekend. Folks join us on Monday for the first edition.
Till we talk to you will be on Monday. My name is April and Parker. Thanks to all of you for being on the show. Till we talk to you, have yourselves a wonderful time from our